Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here, and welcome to another plugin knowledge session. In this session, we're going to check out a plugin called Satson from Sonimus. So firstly, if you are new to my channel and new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon if you want to be notified of all my future videos. So Satson from Sonimus. Okay, so this plugin is, I guess, basically a console style analog emulator. Okay, now it doesn't emulate it in the fact that it's got faders or channel strips or anything like that. It's more your getting your character from the console board itself as you pass audio through it. So it's the sort of thing that you would put on, say, every channel, every track, every bus, that sort of thing, to give that analog character, warmth, whatever you want to call it. Now, the Satson is, well, it classifies it as emulating classic British consoles, which looking at it and some descriptions of it gives it the impression that it is sort of, not exactly, but sort of an SSL, so let's say SSL 4000 style console emulator. So, you know, that's the sort of vibe you're looking for there, but obviously, as I said, not in the channel strip component of it, but just in the characteristics of, like, if you're passing audio through a classic console in a studio. So let's just get into it and we'll check it out. Okay, so here we are in Cubase, and I've just got open the Satson bus and the Satson channel here. So at the moment, I have just got the bus placed on the drum bus, and I've got the channel one on the overhead at the moment. Now, that's just so we can go through the controls, etc., but we will put it on everything else. And there's a proper process that they describe in the manual of how we'll do that. But before we do that, let's have a look at the various controls. So obviously on the bus here, it's very simple layout. We have VU meters, and it says here, very small print. The 0 VU is a minus 18 dB, which is pretty common for these sort of things, these analog emulators. We have on off, which we can obviously turn the plugin on and off, but we can obviously do it in Cubase as well. It says that it's ungrouped. Now we could group it to a particular group. And that would allow it to be grouped with the channels themselves, which I imagine we'll be able to turn on and off as we choose. Now we also have a fat mode here. So I'll read the manual to explain this one. So the fat mode pushes the saturation, generating more harmonics. With fat mode engaged, you will perceive headroom reduction / more compressed sound. Fat mode emphasizes low end saturation and makes for a more aggressive sound. In general, fat mode is not recommended for use in conjunction with the method outlined in How to Use Satson's Gauge Staging tool section. However, you might find fat mode useful in certain tracks to fatten up a bass guitar or a digital synth, for example. We recommend using fat mode judiciously. I can't even say that word. Consider the trade-off cost of the necessary loss in headroom before applying. So they basically don't encourage using fat mode unless you have a really specific reason to do it, because it is going to reduce your dynamic range and cause the song to be a little bit sort of compressed, crushed, etc. Right, so that's as simple as it gets with the bus. And then the channel is very similar, simple. We've got obviously a VU again. 0 VU is minus 18 dBs. And we've got an on-off switch. We have the fat mode again. Okay, we also have we have a gain control, which controls the input signal. So I guess this is like gain staging as such. It's not controlling sort of your fader, but it's making sure the audio is hitting the the channel at an appropriate volume. And I will show you the process that they discuss, which is to try and get it to all hit at 0 VU prior to doing any mixing with faders. Now, it's going to be a little bit different in my case here. We might have to make some adjustments and compromises because this song has already been mixed with faders, etc. Normally, what they suggest is that you would put this on all your channels before you even mix the song. You would set the gain control here so that all of the tracks are hitting 0 VU. Now, I will show you the other technique that you could do the same thing without even using this control, because I'm sure we could do it our other way of using clip gain. Same concept. We just want to make sure we're hitting this at 0 VU, but you can use the gain control in here. And then once you've got that to 0 VU, you never touch this control again. Then you do your mixing with your faders after. But we've already mixed this song, so we're going to have to see how that works out. Hopefully I've gain staged the audio on this mix to a level that's going to work for this. But if not, we'll have to make some adjustments. Okay, so that's the gain control there. So we can obviously reduce it, push it, all that sort of stuff. We've got a high pass. Okay, so what do they refer to this as? It says a suite. Analog-like high pass filter. 6 dB per octave and 12 dB per octave. So with this switch off, it has a 6 dB per octave slope on the high pass. And if we turn it on, it becomes a 12 dB per octave slope. That's the word I'm looking for. So we've got 10 Hertz up to 1.8K. So if we just want to do a little bit of filtering and not use our EQ to do it, or not have maybe the analog component get crunched by some low end, we can filter it out before. And we've got the alternative, which is the low pass, which is the opposite way, 20K down to 1K. So very good if you just want to do a quick bit of a setup, quick bit of a filter, and not worry about your EQ doing it, etc. All right, so the VU meter here is defaulted to minus 18 dBs, but from what the manual says, if you click it, here we go, you can change it to minus 14 or minus 20 if you so choose. I'm going to leave it at minus 18. I'm sure there's reasons why you might want to set it to the other two, but I don't have a reason, so I'm not going to do it. We also have a group selection here. Again, let me bring this up so it comes in the screen. You've got 8 groups, so I would imagine that means that you can set them all to different groups and control them, or you can set them all to the whole group, or you can not even group it at all. Okay, if we click on the Satson channel here, we get to what they refer to as the back panel. And what this does is we have output compensation. So this automatically attenuates or reduces the output as you increase the gain, effectively transforming the gain knob into a drive knob. Okay, so we might be able to use that to help us with our mix. Because we've already mixed this, if I was to tick that on, then, okay, and it indicates that it is on. That will compensate if I adjust this gain, but we'll see that in a minute, and we'll try it as an actual gain thing as well, a drive thing, to show what that might have. Anyway, back to here. So we've got the VU meter position, so we can have it set to pre or post, and I'm guessing that is pre or post the gain control. So if you want to see what it is before the gain control, you set it to pre. Normally you'd set it to post so you can get it balanced to what it is. And what else do you have? Super gain increases the gain to minus 24. Okay, if you really need to push a lot of gain with the gain control, it'll change it from the 18 up to 24. Hopefully we won't need to do that. Mono L, so what are they referring to? It says in some hosts, like Reaper, for example, all tracks operate as stereo tracks. When working with mono tracks within an all stereo tracks DAW environment, set mono processing to on position to reduce CPU load. Okay, so yeah, there are some DAWs that don't have a concept of mono tracks. Everything's stereo, even if the audio itself is mono. So I guess they're saying, tick this on and it will only look at the left channel and will reduce your processing. In Cubase, we don't have that problem. We do have mono tracks, so we can go with that. Okay, so that's pretty much it for that point of it. On the bus, actually, there's a back channel on the bus, which I didn't show. Okay, what we have is, let's have a look at this. So, well, we can go through. We can also change them as well. I'm assuming this is now a stereo view of the VU meter. And we can obviously change that setting. We've got the group again, as I said. The back bus here, we've got crosstalk. So enable or disable crosstalk algorithm. We've got the crosstalk mode, so we can switch between vintage, which is a more evident effect, and modern, a less evident effect. We'll see if we can hear the difference between that later. VU meter again, pre-post. And what else we got? Loud processing. Increases analog-like distortion of low and high frequencies. Okay. And grouping, enable the grouping. Oh, okay. So that opens up a whole new window. All right. Well, let's see if we can explain that grouping thing. So again, I'm going through the manual here. Okay. So obviously grouping here is so that you can control from a single instance. All right. I'm going to go and quickly set this up because I think what we want to do is do a specific sort of setup. So let's do that now, and then I'll show you the grouping based on that. Okay, so I have put the Satson bus on the mix bus and all the other buses. I have put the channel on all of the tracks. Now, I haven't configured any of them yet. Now, there's multiple ways we can do this. We can leave it exactly as it is and not use any groups, not use anything, and control each one individually. Alternatively, we could have them all set to one group. So we could flick through here and we could say, okay, activate grouping from the Satson bus instance. Okay, so we could turn grouping on here. Okay, so, well, what we could do is we could put them all in group one, right? So what I've done is I've actually turned grouping on the mix bus, right? You should only have grouping on one bus. You don't want it on two, right? So we don't want to turn this grouping module on in here. We want to leave it just on one. So this is our main controller now. So we could run through and set every one of these to group one, right? That's one concept we could do. And then your entire thing is configured all through group one. So let's just set all the buses. And then you would do the same for the tracks, right? We put all the tracks in group one. Now, alternatively, what we could also do is say, okay, well, what I actually want to do is I'm going to put the drums in group one. And what we could maybe do is this mix bus here, I'll ungroup this one. All right. We won't have this in the group and we'll have group one. Now, what we can also do is rename. So I might go, okay, I'm going to call this drums. Okay. So what we have now is that is in the drum bus or the drum group. So now what I'd come along and I would open up each one of these and I would assign it to drums. Okay, so we'll have all of our drums configured on the drum group. I missed the effects. I want to also include the effects on this one. And then we might have group 2 could be, well, let's just name them, right? Group 2 could be the bass. Group 3 is the guitar. Can't spell. Let me just have a look at the buses here. Then group 4 might be the keys. 5 is the orc. We'll do that. Group 6 might be the effects. Okay, and then we've got 2 spare. So we could come along here and we will go, you're on the bass. And guitar. Keys. Orc. And effects. Okay, so they're all now set differently. We need to do all the tracks. So I guess just to run through the point of it is that let's say I want to do something with the drums. I'm going to open up that one there and we'll open up one of the channels. Now, what we can do is we can control everything from here. So, I could have this in a group and turn things on and off and it would control it. So if I put this in drums, okay. No, now I can't turn it off, right? It's all controlled from this group thing, right? So these are grayed out now. So that's why I might have this mix bus ungroup because it's the mix bus. I don't want it affected. But what we can do is from this control here, we can turn them on or off. So if I bring that up there, you'll see they're both off, right? And they're grayed out. We can't change these settings. So that's on or off. We could turn the fat on or off. We could do a bit of a trim, which is like a volume change, but only very subtle. Double click to get it back. We could type in a value, trim to channels, bus, or both. And we could do trim as drive. Okay, so this statement of the trim controls the input volume to the instances in the group. Trim can be applied to channels, buses, or both. This control is intended to be used for fine adjustment of input, but it may also be employed to drive the signal by toggling the trim as drive control. Okay, then there's a note. Trim does not affect the child instance's fader controller. Rather, trim operates on an internal trim control residing within each individual instance. So you won't see it change anything, but it does it internally. TDP is the legend for trim control showed in decibels, right? Obviously, you can see the level. Trim here is whether to exercise the control over channels, buses, or both, which you can do. And the trim is as drive. When activated, causes trim control to function as a drive rather than an input control. Okay, so we could use that. We can also do some global settings down here. So you've got each of the individuals, but you can also do a global bypass, a global fat, and maybe even a trim. Oh no, okay, so this changes how broad the trim is. So you could have it very small, medium, or extremely large. So we'll just leave it back at normal. So you could do this. Otherwise, you could not have them in a group and you could individually control them as you so choose. But what we need to do is we've set the buses up. I need to go through and set all of the channels up to suit. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so we've got the Satson on everything, but I have bypassed everything. And I'm going to turn that one off as well. Everything's off. So this is what we've got it sounding like at the moment. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to come through here and have a look at each individual track. Just going to close that down for a minute, and we need to set. So that looks pretty good from a clip game point of view. So you can see most of them are pretty well gain staged, so I don't think I'm not gonna do much with that. It all looks pretty good, to be honest. So because I pre-gain staged this, it just worked to slot these channels in. Okay, now let's just have a quick listen to something. Okay, let me just solo this for a second and let's just... Alright, so obviously you can see here, high pass filter. Alright, you can see the VU there. So if you do need to filter out something, or the top end, make it duller, you can do that. If you want to change the slope. Okay, so you can see the high pass and that does not get affected by the group. And in theory, neither does the gain control. Now that distortion is not actually coming from it, so if I actually do that and do super gain, okay, now if I actually put this to pre, now with the gain control, I'm actually going to ungroup this for a second here, okay? We're going to put this back, and I'll put that back to post. So we'll leave that there. Now if I turn this on, okay, you can hear, you can get a bit of drive out of it, but it's not massive, right? That's even with it set to the 24 dB. I've got output compensation on, because if I turn that off, we're getting distortion, but I think we're getting distortion for the other plugin because we're pushing it louder. So let's just compare the distortion. So you can hear there is some, but it is channel distortion, right? It's not a distortion plugin, right? This is just channel distortion. Okay, so I'm going to turn those off for now. The other thing we'll just try here is the fat. Sorry, put that back. I'm not hearing a big difference there, but I'm sure there is. I'm hearing something. It is very low. Okay, anyway, that's the general concept of it. Right now, you've got to keep in mind, this is going to be very subtle. It's just supposed to process some sort of console-style analog harmonics, right? It's not going to be, well, normally you wouldn't expect it to be day and night. Now, it could be, but normally it wouldn't be day and night. All right, so at the moment, we've got everything's bypassed. So let's start by turning on the mix bus itself. So this is getting applied, well, everything's feeding into this. You can hear that fatten up. Now, luckily, because I've been so pedantic about gain staging here, everything is sitting nicely at a nice VU level on the buses and everything, so it's really good. So we'll turn the fat off. So we're going to leave this mix bus one on, but we've still got all the others bypassed. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll bring them all in. So, can you hear the difference? Now, if I turn the fat on, I mean, that's a big difference. Not necessarily the best thing. Now, if we try this trim, now if you have it set to drive, it's supposed to give more distortion. With it off, it's obviously louder. So you could make some subtle mix changes here if you wanted to. I wouldn't suggest it, but you could. And you could set it to both channels. Okay, that's all of them off. Yeah, the compressors. All right, let's find a different part of the song so we can have a bit of a different comparison here. Let's find, go here. I think there's a cleanish bit here. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Do you hear it? Obviously, it's subtle, but it is supposed to give you that little bit of analog warmth to it, which these bus and channel plugins are always subtle, right? The other one that I was always using was the Slate VCC. Similar concept, except that one had different, like it could emulate multiple different consoles. This is obviously one. So pretty simple to use, but that's something that you apply on your mix before you even start mixing. Just set it up. dial it in, get it all gain staged, and then it should give you the best output that it can. So there you go. There is the Satson plugin from Sonimus. Well, let me know what you think of it in the comments. Did you like it? Is it something you use? Are you going to get it? That sort of thing. Just let me know. If you have any questions, also, please feel free to put them in the comments. I love to help wherever I can. Okay, so if you are interested in getting this plugin from what you've seen here and you don't already have it, check out the description below. I have a link there. It is an affiliate link, so I do earn a small commission, which helps the channel out. It doesn't cost you any more, but check it out. And yeah, if you use that link, as I said, I'll get a small commission just to help the channel out, but it doesn't cost you anymore. And in fact, if you look below, there is actually a code there that you can use to get 10% off any of their single plugins, not bundles, nothing that's already on sale. But if it's just standard single plugin that is not on sale, you can use the code that I've got below and you can get 10% off that plugin. So check out those and go and grab the plugin if you think it looked good and you're interested in grabbing it. Again, if you are new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon if you want to be notified of all my future videos. Hopefully the video's been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.